Johan just released everything we need to know about the legislation that's coming around in Europa Universalis 5, and it is a pretty juicy one, but a short one, so stay tuned and pay close attention because you might miss out on some really important stuff. Johan begins by saying that there were various forms of laws in previous grand strategy games, such as the Upper House in Victoria 2, the Education Act sort of decisions in EU3 that gave you permanent bonuses. In Project Caesar, however, when they define laws, it's something that has 2 or more policies to choose from and where you can change the policy for a cost. So that's basically the same system that Imperator Rome has. You can change certain policies for different laws, and it's going to cost you some type of influence points or some sort of points or mana or whatever it's going to be, right? Many laws have a lot of unique policies that are available for certain tags, religious, cultures, or other unique restrictions. That's great because it means certain laws will be available only for like the Muslims or the Catholics, or for like the Byzantines specifically, or the Ottomans specifically, and so on. So that's essentially, from what I understand, how exactly they're going to be differentiating different nations from one another. So like, for example, the government laws for the Ottomans are going to be unique to them, I'm assuming, and so on, right? We're going to have the pashas and all that type of system. It mentions that currently most countries start with about 12 to 15 laws that they have policies on from the start, and there's about 40 more laws that appear over the ages to basically simulate how historically laws changed with time. New ideas came about, new types of interpreting certain situations in your country, and best to adapt them to your age, meaning in Europa Universalis 5 it's going to be the same like it is in EU4 and pretty much all the other grand strategy games that Johan has worked on. So that's a good system. We have here the administrative laws illustrated with the feudal legal code and the royal court customs being a part of the administrative laws. The administrative system for whatever nation this might be is feudal administration. Now we got by tradition de jure laws, legal code is civil law, and royal court customs is aristocratic court. I like that. 12 to 15 laws. That means each of them is going to have 4 separate categories or more. Who's to say? We never know what the end version of this is going to be, right? I don't think even Paradox does. 4 different administrative laws here, all of the ideal ways to run your country. Enacting a policy for a new law is merely a cost in gold, but changing a policy is far more costly. At a base cost of 100 stability, it's rather costly, and while a high crown power reduces it, having low crown power, which would be very common in the early part of the games, would increase the cost further. So that means that the earlier part of the campaign, if you're going to be changing laws, be careful and make sure you want to be changing that, because it might completely tank your economy, might completely destroy your country altogether, because we all know that stability is going to play a major role in EU5, as it does to a lesser extent in EU4. So how do you pass a law then without plunging your country into chaos? Call in the parliament, which is not every country going to have a parliament though, right? I'm not sure about that. I'm assuming only few nations will have a parliament. And convince them to approve law changes. How that works in detail we will talk about when we talk about parliaments. Okay. Also to take into account is that whilst you immediately lose the benefit of the previous policy, enacting a new policy takes time. So depending on your admin efficiency, it can take several years until you reap the full benefit of the +1 tax efficiency, just like in real life. So essentially you can enact the law, but until it reaches maximum potential, so like say for example a law gives you +10 tax percentage, it will not instantly give you the +10 tax. It's going to give you after a certain amount of time based on how well your admin efficiency is. Higher admin efficiency, faster that's going to happen. Not only countries have laws, many international organizations have laws as well, where in some of them it's something that the leader, like the Emperor of the Holy Roman Empire, could enact on his own. In some there are specific countries that can vote on the policy being approved on or not, and many more options possible. So this is like for example, one of the international organizations is going to be the Tatar yoke for the Muscovites, right? And I'm assuming that whatever legislation passes is going to be what the Golden Horde decides, not what the Muscovites and the Russians decide, despite them being the ones affected by those particular modifiers. So what type of policies do we have in the laws? Well, they are not just modifier stacks like many things in previous games, but they enable and disable mechanics. Whoa, so we get new mechanics altogether in some of these laws. That's cool. They make estates happy or unhappy and impact your societal values. Here's a few examples of laws. The levy law, here's an interesting choice. 2% more peasants is going to be a lot more than 20% more nobles, but over time it has an impact over what your military focuses on. That makes sense, obviously, because you're going to have like 100 nobles and 5,000 peasants. You do the math, it's definitely a lot more. Now we see here the inclusive levies. So we got the modern 2024 levies clearly where we get non-culture levy size plus 20% and progress for decentralization, noble levies as well, peasant levies as separate things altogether. Okay, so you get to choose what kind of a levy you're gonna have. I like that. I actually like that. Obviously, you're not gonna go for the nobles because nobles are gonna give you the highest amount of income tax-wise, so you don't want to be, you're probably gonna always use inclusive levy, so you get rid of the non-primary culture peeps, right? Let's face it, everyone's gonna do that. Naval doctrine was a concept in EU4, but here it is a law with a lot of different options depending on who you play as. So we got fleet maintenance, naval maintenance, galley power, that means combat ability power, by the way, merchant power from maritime, that means trade power from ships, trade range, capture chance plus 33. This is like literally copy pasted from EU4 into EU5. Not even joking. What the hell? Wooden wall, the best for England, right? Okay, so what he's saying is that that's exactly what's going on. Plus, the naval doctrines from EU4 are the unique ones, like for the English, for the Dutch, for so on, are probably going to be their own unique legislations available only to those specific countries, I would assume. Your legal code has many different options depending on who you play as, but as England, you definitely have the important choice. Civil law, monthly progress, decentralization 0.1, and admin efficiency. Whoa, that's a big one right there. I think everyone's going to go for civil law. State satisfaction and stability investment cost. Okay, decent. Traditional law, monthly progress, decentralization, and a state satisfaction equilibrium. Yeah, no, but not a single person is going to click this, trust me. I already know that. I don't even know the balance of the game, but from what I read so far, I can tell you that no one's going to click this. And the later part of the and then Paradox is going to make sure that this is really powerful, so they click it just to make it so I'm wrong. I hope so. The later part of the game, the press laws is something you have to decide upon. We got censored press. Ooh, okay, so this is something that appears in the late part. Interesting. Free press and state press only. When is this going to appear? Like 1500s? I mean, technically it would be more accurate if it's in the 1500s, right? Because there were at certain levels, especially in the Italian peninsula and in the German areas, right? Some types of, not necessarily press, but you get my point. Something similar. There was, do we call it news outlets maybe? I don't know. If you go with free press, the burghers might start building these in different towns and cities. Local newspaper. Okay, that's cool. And you get max literacy plus 10% at the cost of just a little bit of paper. That's actually really good. Holy shit. This is going to be a big one. This is going to be a really big one. Here's an example of a religious law about what religion your heir can belong to. And wait, there's a law simply about the religion of your heir. Okay, that's oddly specific. Any religion, tolerance of heretics and heathens, heir of any religion. Yes, same religion, heir of same religion. Same religious group, heir of same religious group. Okay, so that basically tells me this is going to be a very important thing to change based on how many different religious groups there are in your country. If say you're in the Ottoman Empire and you've got in the early phase maybe a lot of different religions, you probably want to make it so your heir is any religion. But then again, it is the Middle Ages, so you're probably going to make it so your heir is the same religion like pretty much everybody did back then. I think the Mongols were a lot more open about it though, to be fair. Ironically, isn't it? Speaking of heirs, the succession law mechanic is not technically a law, but uses another mechanic primarily because we want to always ensure that it's valid and enforcing a country to always have one. This special law is very much dependent on government type. Like, there's unique ones like the Papal Conclave. When the Pope dies, the cardinals gather to debate who will be the new Pope. This can be quick. Sometimes it can take several years. We have different election methods for the republics and, of course, the old classic Salic, semi-Salic laws as some of the options for monarchies. We have here the Salic laws. And before we go into that, take note, this is one of the reasons why we had the Western Schism historically, because the Pope decided to change the seat of the papacy back to Rome and got elected in Rome. And then another Pope was elected by the papacy old seat back in Avignon. And then Pisa also decided randomly to freaking elect a Pope. So yeah, that makes a lot of sense. And we know for sure that that's going to be one of the main situations in EU5. So I'm going to be interesting to see how that's going to be playing out. A Salic law here, of course, means that your male oldest heir is going to be the one who becomes the next heir. Female children will not be able to inherit, and they're not going to have the right to transfer the right to their kids if they have a male kid. This is the eligibility rules. It also is one of the laws that enables the estates for the nobility. And we've got, for example, the first, second, third, fourth in line here: Duke Lechem de Good de Valois, Philippe de Valois, Duke Charles II, Magnanimous Valois, and Giovanni Mama de Valois, or as he's officially known, Heir Charles de Valois. Next week, we're going to talk about ages and institutions, so that's going to be fun to see. Hope you guys enjoyed this short little video. I just wanted to keep you guys updated with what's happening with EU5. And if you did, don't forget to leave that like and subscribe, and I'll see you in the next one. Much love.